We have been let down as a society. We have been thrown under the bus. We have been completely kneecapped and completely put in a position where we are not able to realize our full potential through the public school system, through the pipeline into college, where it's like your goal is to like get connections and get a piece of paper that says you graduated from some university so that you can get a job working for someone else, helping someone else realize their dreams. But nobody stopped to mention that, hey, you have some dreams. Do you want to realize your dreams? Have you ever even stopped to think about the fact that you have dreams and that they are going unrealized because you're spending all of your time and life energy fulfilling somebody else's dreams? Well, here at this show, we're all about fulfilling your dreams. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the premiere episode of I Fired Myself. My name is Scott Armstrong, and are you guys ready to crush? I'm ready to crush, baby. I'm excited about this new show. I haven't been excited about something as much as I am about this show in a long time, and I'll tell you why. And those of you that have been following me for a while, you know I've done all kinds of podcasting adventures over the years, mostly around like current events, history, geopolitics, all that stuff. And I kind of reached a point where it's like, yes, okay, so we figured out how the world works. We know, like, there's no doubt about it. It's a crazy, messed up place. But what are we going to do about it? You can't fix the world's problems, okay? I can't just keep banging my head against the wall trying to, quote unquote, wake people up. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like the most use I can have in this world is to show my journey of entrepreneurship, highlight other people's journey into entrepreneurship, showing the success that they have, and give you guys the tools that you need to do something amazing in this world. I don't know if you noticed, but this life, this world, it's kind of like a video game, and you have complete control over every aspect of it. And I think that we have been so conditioned, we have been let down so hard in our lives through the public schooling system, the pipeline into like go to college, get a good job, keep your head down, work, get a pension, a retirement fund. Those things keep us trapped and keep us from realizing our full potential. Now, there's a lot of entrepreneur shows, a lot of entrepreneur influencer type people out there who we're going to be highlighting. We're going to show some of their work. It's very valuable information. But the point is that a lot of them are speaking to somebody who already has a successful business and they're trying to scale from like 1 million to 10 million, okay? Something like that. But I feel like there's so much value and there isn't much content out there for the entrepreneur. They call them the wantrepreneur, the person that wants to start a new business, and maybe they're lost. They don't even know where to begin. So that's what this show is for. We're zeroing in and we're helping people who are maybe still stuck in the 9-to-5, who want to start their own business venture and they don't know where to begin. Well, we're going to give you all kinds of stories and a lot of conversations about entrepreneurial mindset, which is most of the battle anyway. And we're really trying to reach those people who are just trying to find their way into this space and become an entrepreneur. And I wanted to start off with this episode to just give you a little background about myself and just tell you what my journey was like into entrepreneurship. I'm sure some of you have heard my story before, but I think it's important to get that on the record here in the context of this show right out the gate, just to kind of set the stage. And I've already got 6 episodes recorded, so we're going to be dropping them back to back pretty much. I'm going to release several of them this week, and we're just going to go, baby, and I'm super excited. But yeah, I just want to say we have been let down as a society. We have been thrown under the bus. We have been completely kneecapped and completely put in a position where we are not able to realize our full potential through the public school system, through the pipeline into college, where it's like your goal is to like get connections and get a piece of paper that says you graduated from some university so that you can get a job working for someone else, helping someone else realize their dreams. But nobody stopped to mention that, hey, you have some dreams. Do you want to realize your dreams? Have you ever even stopped to think about the fact that you have dreams and that they are going unrealized because you're spending all of your time and life energy fulfilling somebody else's dreams? Well, here at this show, we're all about fulfilling your dreams and my dreams. We're all going to do this together. We're going to grow and build together. Because, I'm not like this super like multi-millionaire type influencer guy, but I'm close enough to where a lot of the people that I'm trying to reach are at, where I'm just a few steps ahead of you in this entrepreneurial journey. And I have a lot of valuable insights into how you can make that change as well. It feels a lot more accessible coming from somebody who was working a 9 to 5, like 6 or 7 years ago. That was most of my adult life, was working a paycheck job, working for somebody else, punching a clock, waiting for my paycheck to come so that I could enjoy the weekend. And ever since I got into the entrepreneurial world, I realized there's no going back, baby. There's no going back. Like once you get the itch, once you get bit by the entrepreneurial bug, there's no going back. And so we're going to grow and learn together, folks. And if you want to get more value and more information, I do have a school community. If you haven't heard of it, SKOOL, it's a fantastic platform for if you have a course or if you have anything that you're trying to educate people with. It's a great platform. So I built a school community that's kind of around this show. The school community is called How to Be an Entrepreneur. It's below in the episode description. I advise you to join it. It's free. There'll be a lot of content for free, including weekly entrepreneur strategy calls where you guys can hop in and tell us what you're working on, and we can just kind of brainstorm and powwow and see what's working, what's not, and come up with a game plan for you. But it's going to be a great group discussion. Those are going to be every Saturday at 10 a.m. Central. And that's for the free community. For now, I mean, if this community blows up, I might have to kind of reevaluate things. But I really just want to, I really want to start off with offering you guys a lot of value for free. And there's already some course material up there called the Entrepreneur Roadmap. And that's going to be a 3-part mindset course that'll always be available there for free. So definitely jump in, links in the episode description. So where do I want to start? Well, I guess I can just start by telling you guys a little bit about myself in terms of, many of you know me from my podcasting stuff, but maybe you don't know much about my background and my story. Now, in the school community, I did do a little 15-minute intro video that maybe covers some of the same stuff, but I think it's important to get it on the record here. So, yeah, so I think I would say if I were to look back at where my journey began, well, let me go all the way back, okay? Let's go all the way back. So I grew up in Oregon, in a small town called McMinnville, Oregon, and there was a lot of pressure on me from my parents to be successful. My parents are successful. They're great, wonderful people. They were great parents. They raised my sister and I very, very well. And my dad worked. He was always back in the 90s, he was like an executive level in the tech industry, but not like big tech, like software, more like hardware. So they were making like chips and processors and stuff. The company he worked for basically invented the little machine. It's called the oscilloscope, but basically when you go to the doctor's office and they have the little heart rate monitor thing that goes beep, beep, beep. Yeah, the company that he started off working at and worked his way up to upper management is the company that invented that thing basically. So he's been in like the tech sphere for a long time. My mom was basically a social worker. She started off, well, she has a background in childhood education, and she worked as a social worker for a long time. And then as I started growing up, as I got to middle school, she got a job at our high school, and she was the career counselor at our high school. So she was a counselor that advised students what their career path should be. And it's really interesting because of the fact that she was a career counselor, her whole sole focus was around helping students understand what job they would go get. And so for me, the conversation was always framed as you're going to go and to the best college that you can get into. You're going to go get an education. You're going to get a degree, and then you're going to go out in the working world and get a good job doing what you want to do. Now, at the time, I wanted to do, I remember a big change for me. I was always into movies as a kid, as I'm sure we all were. And the one that really changed the game for me was Jurassic Park. And I was probably 12, 13 years old when Jurassic Park came out. And I remember seeing that in the theaters and seeing those dinosaurs on the screen. I was like, oh my, that changed my life. I was blown away. I was obsessed with Jurassic Park. And I'd always been fascinated with dinosaurs. I was a big, every kid has their thing. G.I. Joes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I was into all those too. But dinosaurs, I was always very fond of dinosaurs. I'd remembered every species of dinosaur, this and that. So I was always into dinosaurs. And then when I saw Jurassic Park, seeing that on the screen, I was like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. And so at that point, I decided that I wanted to work in the movie industry doing special effects. So that was the career path that I chose. And so I did a lot of art classes in high school, and I ended up going to the University of Oregon, and my major was multimedia design. So I was going to get into like multimedia design, graphic arts, and then just go the artistic route to hopefully build a portfolio and land a job in the film industry doing special effects. Well, what happened was I went to college, and I immediately started drinking and just smoking weed, and just that was the priority. The priority was not school. It was partying, getting drunk. Like my buddy and I, we graduated high school together, and we both went down to Eugene, Oregon. And instead of moving into the dorms like the rest of my graduating class that ended up at University of Oregon, him and I thought that it was a great idea to get our own apartment. So we got an apartment a few blocks off campus, and we were surrounded by all upperclassmen that were all 21. And we were both 18, fresh out of high school. And our friend group was all of our neighbors who were all 21 and over. So we had unlimited access to alcohol 24 hours a day, everywhere. Like we could go to like 10 different places within a block and buy weed, like the best weed in the world. You know what I mean? And so we were like, him and I were not ready for that, I would say, looking back in the grand scheme of things. And we just partied. And it didn't take long before I realized that I wasn't going to class. I was just going through, it was not good, dude. So I found my true love at the time, alcohol. And that sent me down a path of, first of all, dropping out of college. I didn't fail out per se, but my GPA was to the point where I was like, I got to quit while I'm ahead and maybe salvage that. Maybe someday if I go back to college, I might be able to salvage this. So I quit while I was ahead after maybe a year and a half. I started working. I got some jobs and I just started working, you know what I mean? And then I started I got a job at Home Depot as a cashier. And I was always a hard worker. You know what I mean? And in my Home Depot days, when I was a cashier, I was like working really hard. I was really helping customers a lot. I became like the pro checkout cashier. So I was working with all the contractors. You know, I had like the premium cashier job. I was like, you know, and I was always working. I was always like stacking the lumber or making it look nice. They called it flat stacking lumber. I was helping customers. I was like moving outside of my little zone and taking on as much additional work as I could, really proving that I was a good hard worker. And they promoted me from a cashier to a department supervisor, which is like unheard of. Like normally you become a cashier and then maybe you'll get a job in like the paint department and then you work there for a few years and then maybe they'll make you a manager. But, you know, I was like 21, 22 at the time, and I went from being a cashier to a department manager just because I worked that hard and I really like showed that I had what it took. And so then I became a manager. I was working my way up the whole manager ladder, doing the whole retail thing. And I really took it seriously. Like they were grooming me to like become like, you know, assistant store manager, like all this stuff. Because I was like their little shining golden boy, dude. I was like their success story. Like I was going to be like the youngest manager in the whole company's history and all this crap. Like I was like their golden boy. Right. But, retail is brutal. And if you ever worked retail, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, especially at the manager level. I mean, my typical schedule was, you would work 5 a.m. You had to be there at 5 a.m. on Mondays. And then sometimes it'd be like Tuesday, Friday off. But a lot of times I think I had like Thursday. If you were a sales department manager, you would usually have like Thursday, Friday off. That was typical. But it would be like, you know, 5 a.m. to 2 Mondays, maybe like an 8 to 5 Tuesday, and then 3 to midnight Wednesday. And then you're off Thursday, Friday, and then you're back at like 6 a.m. on a Saturday, and you work through the weekends. And so every week it was like some days I'm getting up at 5 a.m. or some days I'm getting up at 4 a.m. And then some days I'm not going to work until 3 p.m. Like it's just the craziest schedule ever. And then the more you work up the chain, like once you get to assistant store manager, then you're salaried, and they demand that you work at least 55 hours a week, 5 11-hour shifts. And so what happened is the drinking never stopped for me. I was always a drinker. And for me, it was always just like that's just what you do on the weekends. Like the people I hung out with, we just went and drank. But I was an anomaly. I would always drink way more than everybody else, and it was a problem. And to not go too much into that, let's just say that it ended up not working out with Home Depot. I got fired because my performance started to slip because I was drinking a lot. Like I was in a real bad place. Okay, I went through a bad breakup. Blah blah blah. I'm not blaming that. It's it was 100% me. But it's an easy way when you're in the moment to justify the amount that you're drinking. When you're like, oh, my heart's broken. I'm just gonna black out every single day, And it all came to a head. And there's a lot to that story, but I'm not gonna go into it here. All I'm gonna say is that in December 2016, when I was 33 years old, that's when I got loaded for the very last time. And I've been sober this will be my 10th year. So I put it down. I do have 9 years sober at the time of recording this episode. And later this year I'll have 10 years. So I almost started the episode with started right there. Like that's where my story started. But I think it was important to give some context. Like, I've always been in the working world. Okay. And growing up, like with my mom, especially, the message was your only option is to go to college, get a job, and that's it. Okay. And then since I dropped out of college, it was probably a big disappointment for them and blah, blah, blah. But it's like my only option at that point was just to get a freaking retail job. And so they're like, oh, they never said this to me, but I'm sure they're in their minds. They're like, oh, yeah, he's just a cashier at Home Depot, blah, 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 whatever. There was an element of, nothing's ever good for them type of stuff. And so who knows? But, so when I got sober, I basically started from scratch in life. I was 33 years old. I didn't have anything going for me, you guys. Like I was basically unemployable. I didn't have a driver's license. I was riding my bike everywhere I went. It was pretty ridiculous. But I got really involved in the recovery community, and I really poured my heart and soul into figuring out why I drank and did other things, right? It wasn't just the alcohol towards the end, I'll tell you that much. But it kind of was like, I have to figure out, but I didn't have much hope, okay? I'd gotten in some trouble with the law. I was not in a good place. Wasn't that employable. I didn't really have any viable skills. And there was this huge sense of like, everybody I knew, people that were around my age, they all had families and a house and cars and a career and all this stuff. And I literally was like riding my bike in the rain to go to a meeting. But I started to pull myself up and I got a job. I got a job working at a manufacturing place. We were making like rubber pipe fittings, or not rubber, like PVC plastic pipe fittings, electrical conduit more specifically. So I did that for a while. Then I got a job working at a shop where we fabricated custom countertops for RVs. And then, at this point, I'd had a couple years sober, and I started going through the process of becoming a drug and alcohol counselor because I saw that as a viable career path. It was really cool because, because of some of the trouble I got in when I was out running and gunning, I got some like theft charges because I was like shoplifting to support my habits, let's just say. So I had this like criminal record, and it was like kind of a, it was a barrier to certain employment, right? And so I saw this whole path with the drug and alcohol counselor thing as a viable option because I knew a lot of drug and alcohol counselors, and once you become like a program director, whatever, like you can make a good living off that. You can probably make like a decent living. So that was my goal. And I initially thought that my background, and well, it was really cool because it was literally a viable option because, most jobs you walk in, they look at your record like, oh God, like what's all this like possession charges and theft charges? And they're like, no thanks, have a nice day. But then when you walk into a drug and alcohol counselor job position and they're like looking at they're like, tell us about your criminal history. And you tell them and they're like, that's great. That's awesome. That's exactly what we're looking for. So it's actually like a positive in that world that you have that lived experience, that you have that background, and you can use that to help, mentor the clients and be like, look, I was exactly where you're at right now. In fact, in my situation, I became the counselor of the group that I was literally in when I first started. And so I was literally sitting in your chair right there. Okay. And now I'm kind of making something of myself a little bit. So I followed that career path for a while. And I'll say this too. I was able to go through the process and get all my charges expunged and dropped. And so I do have a clean record right now, except for a DUI that I got in like 2009, 2010. They don't scrub the DUIs, but just because they need to be able to see, okay, if I get another one, oh, that's your second one. So anyway, so you can't get rid of DUIs, but besides that, I have a clean record, and it's pretty cool. So yeah, so I did the drug and alcohol thing for a while, drug and alcohol counselor thing for a while. And, I was working my way up to maybe becoming like a level 2 counselor, and which would then open up the option to become like a program director. And that was my career path. Now, some things went down, and I ended up not working there anymore. We let's just say we became misaligned in our values. And I do believe in the core principles of treatment at a treatment center, but ultimately we went our separate ways. And I went back to work at the countertop fabrication shop. And it was around this time, it was 2020, it was like the end of 2021. And I was really just not having a good time in Oregon, okay? Like the state had been locked down for a couple years, like still it was like lockdown mode by the end of 2021. All of my friends were leaving. Everyone was moving out of the state. Like all these small businesses were shutting down. The gyms had been closed for 2 years. Like I was not thriving in Oregon. And I decided to do something different. And I decided to move across country and start over in Nashville, Tennessee. Now I want to back up just a little bit, because when I was in my drug and alcohol counselor, now this is really where it gets pertinent to the entrepreneur journey. So when I was working as a drug and alcohol counselor, I was making $20 an hour. And I was like, bro, I've never made this much money in my life, and for a social worker, that's, not big money, but I was like, dude, 20 an hour. And the next step after the 20 an hour, like if I worked a little bit harder and got a couple more certifications, they were going to bump me up to $22.50 an hour. And that was crazy to think about, $22.50 an hour, but looking back on it, it's pretty amazing. Now, many of you listening, $22.50 an hour might be like life-changing money. Seriously, okay? But that is the first realization that I had, and I'll describe it in a little bit here. Realizing that what I was working, I can't even, looking back, realize how much work and time and effort that I would have needed to have put in just to get that extra $22.50 an hour. What is that, an extra $80 a week? Okay? All the classes and certifications and begging your boss and putting in like an extra year, like, okay, every year they're going to bump you up $1 an hour or something like that. Looking back, that's insane to think about. But when you're in the paycheck mentality, they use that incentive structure to get you to be a good little worker and prioritize the company and do all this stuff. And if you do that, you do really good for all year, we're going to give you $1 more an hour, which is like, what is that? $40 extra a week. Oh, it hurts my soul to think in those terms. Okay. And to think that so many people, that is a valid thing. Even if it's like a 5% increase a year. Okay. What is that? Yeah. Okay, a 5% increase a year, which is that's not even enough to keep up with inflation. At 20 an hour, that's $1 more a year. Is that right? Yeah. 5% of 20. What the hell? Why am I blanking on this? Yeah, 20 divided by 20. It's $1, dude. Literally. Okay, so $1. Literally $1. Okay. So crazy to think about that. Like $1 an hour is how they keep that little carrot dangling in front of you so that you just work a little bit harder. Absolutely insane. So, but again, if you're listening to this and you're in the paycheck mentality, that might sound great. You might do anything for an extra $1 an hour raise, but that's what this show is all about, is reframing the mentality in your mind that you we'll get there. So I moved to Tennessee, and one of the reasons why I chose Tennessee is because my certification as a drug and alcohol counselor, I still wanted to do that work. I still wanted to work in the drug and alcohol counseling industry. So I moved to Tennessee, and I started applying for jobs. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So my certification had reciprocity with Tennessee, so I could move to Tennessee, and I could still, I could get a job. I'd need to get a Tennessee license, but I wouldn't need to go back to school. Like some of the other states I was looking at, I was doing the research, and I would have had to have gone back to school in order to achieve the same certification that I already had. But in Tennessee, I could have basically just jumped right in, and I could have started just going from there. So I started applying for jobs, and I started getting interviews at treatment centers, and there was a lot of like, okay, we'll call you back. All right, we have more interviews this next week. And so, when you're in the paycheck mentality, you're on the losing end of the deal because you're literally begging people to give you a job. Okay, so sales is a little bit like that, but you're not begging. Okay, you're showing value. And so I guess that is kind of like what it's like when you're in a job interview, is you're trying to communicate your value to an employer that will then give you money in exchange for that value proposition. Now, I would argue, had I been better at sales or knowing what my offer is and how to bring my offer to the market, which is myself, then maybe I could have done a little bit better and closed some of those job interviews, if you want to put it in like sales terms. But these are skills you don't really learn out there in the wild. They don't teach you sales or anything like that. So I was still trying to get a job, and I had a couple other job interviews, and I had this one interview as a ghost tour guide. Okay. So I interviewed with this guy about being a ghost tour guide in downtown Nashville, and he offered me the job. And then after he offered me the job, he sent me this thing. This is the script you have to read and memorize. And it was like 20 pages. I'm like, how am I going to memorize this thing? And he's like, well, you don't have to like memorize it word for word. Just like make it your own, just kind of the gist of it. I'm like, dude, I can't do this. So I declined the offer. And then I got a job. I got a call back on a job for being a horse carriage operator. All right. So I was going to basically be the guy. So here in Nashville, if you haven't been, it's a super touristy place. Like the downtown Broadway, Nashville area. Like it's kind of like, they call it Nash Vegas. It's like literally Las Vegas. You go down there on like a Friday, Saturday night in the middle of like the spring or summer. There's probably literally like 100,000 people down there. Like I'm not even exaggerating. And so part of that, you have like the big party buses. And then you have like these guys riding these like horse-drawn carriages, and they're giving tourists like rides in the horse-drawn carriage. Probably drunk tourists. Everybody's drunk down there. It's horrible, awful. Don't recommend it. But the funny thing about that is like I ended up declining that job because they described it, and I basically have to drive about an hour outside of town, pick up the horses, bring them into town, get the thing all set up. Like I would have become like a horse guy. You know what I mean? I would have been like a horse guy, driving tourists around downtown. Drunk tourists. I'd be having to deal with drunk-ass people every day. I can't imagine anything more horrible than that. And so I declined that. But it's like, I was out here in uncharted territory, sight unseen, out in Nashville, trying to figure it out, trying to put the pieces together. And these were my best options. This is all I could come up with. I was nowhere near the entrepreneurial mindset whatsoever. My mindset was, I have to get another job. I have to find somebody that's willing to give me money, and I'll do just about anything. I'll give ghost tours. I'll carry drunk people around in a horse-drawn carriage. These were my best ideas, and these were my best options that were available to me. I had no idea how to make an offer to the market at this point. And then things changed. I did a podcast. Because I've always been podcasting. I did a show with one of my buddies back in Oregon. And this is where everything changed. He was a postal worker. He was a mail delivery guy in Portland, Oregon. And he got a little bit tired of Portland, Oregon. So he moved out into the country. And as I was interviewing him, I was like, yeah, man, tell me how it's going. Like, give me the update. He told me that what he'd done is he'd gone to a feed store or a farm implement store, like a local, just a local rural type store. And there was a bulletin board, and he had put a note on the bulletin board with his name and his phone number. And it said, I have a truck and some tools, and I'm available for work. And I was blown away. I was like, really? And you're able to support yourself doing that? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, interesting. So here I was sitting here trying to find a job. And then I was like, I could do that. I could do that as like a side hustle. I have a truck. I have some tools. I could probably help some people with some stuff. So even, and I'm just saying this, even if you don't have a truck, you can still do something like this. So I'm hoping these conversations that we're having plant some seeds and just get your brain thinking in these terms. Because up until this point, the idea had never even occurred to me that I'm a human being with skills and an able body, and I can like just go out there and do things. And there's lots of people looking for things for people like me to, you know what I mean? So I was like, in my mind, my first initial thought was, well, I have a truck. I could like pick up things and help people deliver things. Or if they're moving, I can help them move. That was my original thought. That was my original idea. So I'm not even going to say business idea because I wasn't thinking in terms of starting a business. But what I did do is I went and I went to my what I perceived to be the most a bulletin board that would have the most exposure, and that was Facebook. And I'll see if I can find that original post because I think that'll be useful to you guys. Okay, I found it. Look at this. This is awesome. Okay, so this is right after I moved to Nashville. All right, let me show you guys this. So this is the original post I made. So when I tell you how I came to Nashville and I put myself out there, this is the post I made. This is May 17th, 2022. And I arrived in Nashville May 5th, 2022. So I just had a photo of myself, okay? And I just posted a photo of myself because I didn't have any photos of me working. I didn't have any proof of what I was capable of. And it just says, hello, my name is Scott. I recently moved to Nashville. I want to put myself out there and offer my labor to assist with any projects that you may have going on. I'm 38, physically fit, extremely hardworking, and highly motivated. Would love to help with single projects, ongoing work, or as needed. Need help around your farm or property? Let's chat. Need a hole dug? No problem. See, that was like my value proposition. Like, I can dig a hole, okay? I think this is really important for you guys to hear because it's like, I mean, I didn't know what I was really even offering. It's like, I can just dig a hole if you need a hole dug. If you need a hole dug, no problem. Need help moving? I can help. I have basic tools, a pickup truck, and I can assist with minor repair projects. References available if you like. My ultimate goal is to live a decentralized life outside the city, homesteading and focusing on self-reliance. I was hoping to not only offer my labor as a means of paying the bills, but also as a way to network with others in the community. I have a passion project that I do basically full-time, but it doesn't pay the bills at this point, and that was podcasting. Hoping to supplement that for the time being. Thank you for taking the time, and I look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day. And then update, it said, due to the incredible and overwhelming positive feedback I received from this post, I actually started a Facebook page in pursuit of this endeavor. Feel free to give me a follow and reach out anytime. And so Nash Tasks, I'll show you. So this is the page that I made, Nashville Tasks Handyman Service. And so Nashville Tasks, I named it that because I was thinking like I would just be doing tasks for people, like picking things up. And then here you go. So I made a Facebook page, and pretty much all my business came from this page where I was just like posting my jobs. And it started off just like, so I thought that was pretty cool. It didn't really take a whole lot to get started. I made a post in some pages. I got some responses, and I started getting to work. And then I made a Facebook page in pursuit of that. And even to this day, I didn't make a website. I didn't do anything outside of just that Facebook page. And that's primarily how I got all my business. So just showing you that's possible. And really, you see what I mean? Like, I didn't know what I was doing. And it's funny because looking at that post, knowing what I know now about like sales and making an offer, it was all about me. It's like, here's what I'm trying to do. You can help me achieve my dreams. No. I should have framed it like, this is how I can solve your problem. You have a problem. You have pain in your life. Let me and my pickup truck and my tools solve your pain and fix your problems. So solve your problems and fix your pain. You know what I'm saying? So I've come a long way since then. That was my first attempt at entrepreneurship, of being like, ooh, maybe I can do something outside of just doing a paycheck job. Now, I started getting some people reaching out to me. My first job was I helped a lady move like a dining room set, like a kitchen table and some chairs. And then shortly after that, somebody reached out to me. A lady reached out asking if I could replace her mailbox. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I might be able to replace your mailbox. Like, let me look it up on YouTube. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. So I need a shovel. So I got to go get a shovel. I need a level. Okay. So I just dig a hole. Okay. And I pour some concrete in there, and then I level it, and then I put the mailbox on top. Okay. Yeah, I could do that. So it was really funny how like I started learning as I went. Like, obviously I didn't figure out every single thing about entrepreneurship first. I just went and did it. That was me making my offer to the market, and the market reciprocated by saying, yes, your services are valued and we will exchange money for your services. So that kind of unlocked something for me. Now, at this point, I was not thinking this was a viable career path. I was just in the side hustle mentality, thinking that I needed to do this as a side hustle to bring in some income until I could get an actual paycheck job, because I was still applying for jobs at this time. And I was thinking, man, like, yeah, this will help me pay the bills. Like I said in there, I just need something to help me pay the bills. Somebody help me pay my bills until I can get an actual paycheck job making $20 an hour. And so and then like I had these folks reach out to me who was looking for they were looking for a part-time like maintenance guy on their ranch, and they already had a full-time head maintenance guy, and I'd be like his assistant, right? So I started working there pretty quickly after making this post. And then what happened was I realized after a few weeks, maybe a month or so, I realized it dawned on me. I was like, whoa, did I just start my own handyman business? Did I just start a business? And then I really leaned into it, and I realized, whoa, and that's when I made that page, Nashville Tasks. And I realized that maybe this is something that I could actually pursue and make a living doing. So I went all in on it. And then I started like learning about, marketing and stuff. And around this time, my first and probably most meaningful mentor that I've ever had in this journey is a guy named Richard Grove. And I'm sure you guys know Richard Grove if you've been following my work. But if not, he's an awesome guy, historian, long-form podcaster. He's been podcasting and making films and long-form content for like 25 years. Just an absolute legend. And his main thing is that he teaches a course called Autonomy. And Autonomy is a 12-week intensive course and community centered around entrepreneurship. And I'd done a favor for him around this time. I wasn't really like, I wasn't in with him or his business, but I did them a favor. And in exchange for that favor, they offered me a scholarship to Autonomy. So this is around this time, like in spring of 2022, that I joined Autonomy, and I went through season 8, and I learned all of these skills relevant to what I was literally going through at that time. It was a very divine situation where I was invited into this elite entrepreneur mentorship program right around the time that I accidentally started my own business. So I learned what it meant to be an entrepreneur. And that was so critical in helping me with some of the initial mindset aspects of entrepreneurship that we will get into and explore very much in depth on this show and in our school community. But the idea is that like I had to reframe everything. I had to learn everything about what it meant to not having to rely on a paycheck and having to go out and hustle and grind and do it for myself. And as time went on, I got to, Nashville Tasks turned into a pretty successful little thing. I got more and more involved with more contractors. They were pulling me in. I was mostly like a subcontractor on a lot of projects, getting pulled in and helping out with like kitchen remodels, bath remodels, additions on homes, commercial work. I started to learn I started acquiring tools, and I started really just learning a whole bunch of skills. And now I'm pretty skilled. I've done some pretty intense jobs, and I'm pretty confident in my ability to do a lot of stuff. And not only that, it's like, okay, so let's say I have a job that is a little bit outside of the scope of what I feel comfortable taking on myself. I've got a network of other very skilled construction folks in my circle that I could pull in, and I would do that. I'd get a job where we want to remodel our bathrooms. Like, okay, great. I know a great tile guy. So I brought him on some jobs. We're going to build a deck. My buddy and I, he started a deck company, and him and I did a lot of decks over the last few years. And so it just kind of unfolded into this whole thing where it's like, now I have to learn how to get customers. I need to learn like a customer acquisition system. I need to learn how to bid a job. And that was a big thing for me, because I'm coming from the mentality of, whoa, someone's actually going to give me $20 an hour to bid a job. But I learned very quickly that you're playing a whole different ball game when you're out there in the trades and you have a skill that people are willing to give you money for. So it's like, okay, so $20 an hour. What is that? Okay, so let's do the math here. 20 an hour. Let's say before taxes, 20 an hour times 40. That's $800. Oops, that's like $800 a week. Okay, working 40 hours for somebody else, dude. 800 in the trades when you're bidding a job and you're going out there and making your offer. I can make $800 in a few hours. So the idea of like battling for an extra dollar and like begging and putting so much effort into getting an extra dollar an hour, that's insane. I could go bid a job and I could literally make $800 in like 4 hours. Easy. No problem. And that's the mindset reversal, change, shift that I underwent. And I had to learn how to actually bid jobs commensurate to the level of skill and value that I'm giving to people. You know, to me, it was like, I used to just like bid it out where it was like, okay, so this might take me 6 hours to complete. So at $20 an hour, that's like 120. I'll do it for $120. And then I started to get bold. I was like, oh my God, I wonder if they'd pay me 30 an hour. Okay. So 30 an hour, times, 30 an hour times like 6 hours, that's like $180. Would you give me $180 to do this? And they're like, yes, $180. Yes, please. I didn't realize that those types of jobs that, I can get done in 6 hours, I should have been bidding like $2,500 to complete the job. It's not an hourly thing. At that point, they're paying for a lot more than just your hourly rate. They're paying for the skill, the know-how, the tools, the attention to detail, the ability to get it done right the first time. Those are all things that people will pay a premium price for. So a job may take 6 hours. I've worked with electrical contractors because, I'm not going to run new power lines from the box. That's a little outside of my skill level, even to this day. But I'll bring in an electrical contractor and we'll run 20 new outlets from the box and he'll walk away with $5,000. You know what I'm saying? So if you can learn some of these skills, you will be rich. And if you can start a company doing these skills, you will become rich. I'm telling you right now. So anyway, so this is like a whole reversal and a whole just mindset shift around pricing and making an offer. And then that's really where it all just took off. Now, the handyman thing, I will be honest with you, okay? It was a very run and gun type of operation. I was kind of just living outside the system, running it like a cash business, under the table sort of stuff. And then as I got further and further along in that, after I've been doing that for several years, I saw this big opportunity in the market where these contractors, they do amazing work, but they don't even have an Instagram page, okay? They don't know how to market themselves. And I can speak from experience that I hated the idea of I just want to, because once you're bidding jobs, you're not getting paid by the hour. You just want to get in, get it done, and get out, okay? And so as a contractor, you don't want to have to stop and spend time pulling out your phone, setting up a tripod, filming yourself on the job, filming before and after stuff. So I saw this huge opportunity where I could leverage my skills as a video editor. I could be the one that produces the high-end video content for people and then turn around and use that for marketing. And so I've been learning. So I started learning about marketing, about running paid ads on Facebook, Instagram, I'm learning a little bit about LinkedIn advertising, Google, YouTube. So I shifted and I hard launched my video production company that is now morphed into a video marketing agency. So my niche and my offer now is to partner with contractors, tradespeople, and help them capture their jobs using high-end cinematic video, turning around and using that for organic social media content and a paid ad campaign to bring them more leads and make them more money. So literally my offer is I make your job site look like a Netflix movie so your phone won't stop ringing with hot, qualified, ready-to-buy leads. That's my pitch. That's my offer. And it's been great. I've been having some success with it. I've got 3 video shoots this week. You know what I mean? And it's been an amazing journey, and I'm so grateful and blessed for it. But right now, okay, so since I started launching the marketing agency, the video marketing agency, I'm just devouring entrepreneur content, and I'm paid for it. I'm involved in now, including Autonomy, 3 mentorship programs. One of them is specifically for video and photo, how to run a video and photo business. Awesome guy. His name's Sawyer Hartman, runs a great school community. And the other one, big shout out to Trevor Ray. He runs a company called growprofits.io, and that's all about paid ads. And when I signed up for that course, it was like, it took me a little bit of convincing because I had to pay a lot, thousands and thousands of dollars for this course. But I can't tell you how valuable the information is because I'm learning a billion-dollar skill, how to run paid ads for companies and make them lots of money. That's what I'm learning, and I'm just inundating myself with this information, but the course is packed with all this other stuff. And so, you know, in the beginning, I didn't know how to get customers. I was like, where do I even get customers? I was cold calling. I was literally pulling up onto job sites with my camera being like, hey, let me shoot a free video for you. If you like it, maybe, you know, no obligation, but if you like it, maybe we can talk about doing more content. And I got some leads that way, but I didn't know how to get leads. And so I learned how to run paid ads for myself, for my business. And now every day I'm getting at least 1, sometimes 2 leads. And I'm following up and I'm closing them. Well, at the beginning, I was having meetings with these people, but I didn't have a sales process. I didn't have my pitch dialed in. I didn't know really how to make my offer in a compelling way and overcome objections prior to even pitching them or dropping a price on them. And so at first my problem was lead generation. Okay, I got my lead generation figured out. And then it became sales. I realized that I didn't have a sales process. And so now I'm obsessed with sales. I'm trying to learn every single tiny little thing about sales and how to communicate the value of my offer in a way that shows them unequivocally that I can solve their problem, heal their pain, and deliver them the outcome that they want, which is ultimately making more money. So these are all things that I was never taught before. And so in this course, or in this podcast, and then of course in the course itself, How to Become an Entrepreneur, we're going to get into all this stuff. So that's been my journey. I do have a video that I pulled up here that I was going to play for you guys, and it just kind of goes along with what we're talking about. And this is somebody that I've been I've been listening to a lot of his content. Super inspiring. His name's Alex Hormozi. You guys might have heard of him. If you're not kind of in the entrepreneur world, maybe you haven't heard of him. But Alex Hormozi's a legend, and his whole business model is he gives out all this entrepreneur training material for free to everybody, because he is looking for the people that take it, use it, build like $10 million businesses with it, and then he will invest in your business at that level and then make everybody even more money. So his goal is to just put all this information out, and then he wants to surround himself with the people that use that information, the high performing, high output, like top tier 0.001 of 1% type people. He's looking for those people, and maybe someday we'll all be there in his inner circle. But his content's super valuable. His books are great. And this is just a little video I pulled up just for you guys because I think it's really relevant to what we're talking about here today.
Now we have to cut all of our time costs. Step 2 is save time. And so if you work a 9-to-5 job, this is kind of just the reality of it. Your 9-to-5 job is not killing your dreams. All right. So just stop subscribing to that. You're wasting the 2 4-hour chunks of the day that you do have available to you, which is your 5 to 9 in the morning and your 5 to 9 at night. So what you want to be doing is, instead of just like mindlessly doom scrolling through life, right? Instead, you're like, I have 4 hours before I have to go to work. Right now, if you work remotely, even better, because you can be more efficient with it. If you're not remote, then it might be 3.5 hours, or you just wake up earlier. And I also say this as someone who did this, right? The reason that this whole like I wake up early in the morning became a thing for me was because that was the only time I could get ahead. And so I very much believe in Kobe Bryant's perspective on this, which is like, if everyone else is going to practice, he's like, well, if I do 2 extra practices a day, I'm going to move forward 3 times faster. And so 1 is we got our money back. 2, we got our time back. Now that we have our time back, we need to minimize the distractions in that time period, because focus is achieved not through addition, but subtraction.
That's it right there, guys. That's so important. Like, you don't need more time in the day. You just need to be more efficient at utilizing your time. And I'm speaking to myself too. You know, I'll catch myself doom scrolling. I'm like, no, back to work, boy. We are not going to get anywhere mindlessly taking in content that's just like not doing anything for us. And that's what I'm saying is the type of content I've been consuming for the last 10 years has not moved the needle forward 1 inch in my life. Well, I guess I can't say that, because it led me to podcasting. It led me to networking and becoming, friends and colleagues with people I used to look up to in that realm. And it's unlocked a lot of doors, and a lot of projects and a lot of amazing things in my life have been achieved through that path. But ultimately, I have not learned any skills. I have not moved forward. And I want you to all really take a look at the content that you're consuming, whether it's scrolling social media, the podcast you're listening to. Is it helping you learn skills and grow and become a better human being? Or is it just keeping you in a place of just stagnation and learning about the world and how horrible the world is? And it's really not, or it's just mindless slop and garbage and nonsense. Are you consuming garbage or nonsense, or are you using your time to level up? Your time is your most valuable asset, okay? So do a real hard audit of your life and your daily activities. And is it bringing you more wealth? Is it bringing you more skills? Is it bringing you more value, making you more valuable to make your offer to the community? Or are you just letting time pass you by. Like Netflix, dude, if you have a Netflix subscription, you may not be ready to go to the next level. Okay. I don't even have a TV. I don't have Netflix. I haven't watched a Netflix show. I mean, I'll watch a Netflix show on like someone else's TV, maybe sometimes. Like there's a time and a place for like lounging, but I've never had a Netflix subscription. Like there's no way. I would not be anywhere near where I'm at today if I wasted my time. Or video games. I've not played a video game since Grand Theft Auto 5 in like 2013. If you're playing video games, if you're watching Netflix, you're probably not ready to go to the next level. You have to cancel your Netflix subscription. You have to throw away your video game console, and you have to lock in and get serious. And and you have to get sober. You have to get sober. Okay. You have to throw away your game console, and you have to cancel your Netflix subscription. And you probably have to remove Instagram from your phone until you're ready to start marketing yourself on Instagram. Okay. Those would be my big advice right there. I mean, as we move forward, that's going to be a big message of mine. It's like, you guys, you got to get sober. I hate to say it, but it's holding you back. Okay. I'm telling you.
When you remove everything else that doesn't matter, focus is what's left. Now, if you happen to be if you're on your path right now, so like, let's say that you're not at job, so you started a business, but it's not making as much as you want and you don't have the 100K in savings. Let me just give you the simplest formula that I had. This is kind of like the 2.0 version, which is a 4-4-4 split. So if you're at 9 to 5, then you got 5 to 9 and 5 to 9. If you don't have a 9 to 5 during the day that you got to go to, then I like to do 4 hours of promotion. First thing I do when I get up is let people know about my stuff. Because if nobody knows about your stuff, they can't give you money. The second 4-hour chunk is delivery. So you give the people that gave you money what you promised them. The third 4-hour chunk is building. So this is building the future, figuring out what to do next and how to do it. This is a combination of two things. It's going to be the curation of opportunities. Like, what are all the things that are out there? I have to see them, find them. And then the second is the prioritization of those. Okay, there's 10 things I could do. This one thing is going to get me the highest return. This is what I'm going to prioritize my time and money towards.
There you go. So those are some good words of advice from the legend himself, Mr. Hormozi. Definitely recommend looking at if you're looking for more content, definitely check out his YouTube channel. It's freaking fantastic. It's awesome stuff. But really you saw it right there. I mean, he breaks it down where it's like, as an entrepreneur, you have your day divided up into 3-4-hour chunks, which is 12 hours. So on a good day, you're probably working 12 hours, like easy, you know what I mean? Like really, ultimately, you want to buy your time back by systematizing and delegating and bringing in people to take over a lot of this stuff. But in the beginning, when you're first starting and it's just you, which is the stage I'm at right now, I mean, I usually put in like at least 16 hours a day. I usually get up at like maybe 7 and I'm going till like midnight, a lot of nights, most nights. I mean, that's my day every day. And you know what? I love it. I love it so much. I wake up every day excited. I'm like, okay, what do I get to jump into today to help drive the business forward? And this podcast is a big part of that. Honestly, like, it may seem like this is a side quest or a distraction, but I think that this, along with the school community, are going to be a really positive thing. I think it's going to help a lot of people. And also, I'm seeing that I'm able to network locally in my local community by having some guests on the show. I did a show with a gal named Elrina that owns it's called Equinox Power Cleaning. It's a power washing company here in Nashville. I connected with her because I put out a call to action in a bunch of small business groups here in Nashville on Facebook. Said I got a podcast. I'm looking for guests, business owners that are successful, that want to tell their story. And I connected with her, and she invited me to this networking group that I went to this morning, right before this podcast. And I made some amazing connections there already today. So I was out networking first thing in the morning. Like, I stayed up till 3 a.m. doing the podcast that I do every Sunday night. And then I got up super early and I went to this networking event and I made some awesome connections, and I've already got some stuff planned to follow up with some of the people I met there. And that was all from this podcast. So this is a great tool. Everybody's thing is going to be a little bit different, but for me, the podcasting's always been a core staple of mine, and I'm noticing how I can use it as leverage to kind of make new connections and maybe see different opportunities. So that's where I'm at right now, guys, and I'm really excited about this show, about the future of this show. I've got some amazing episodes that are going to be popping out here in the very quick future. I'm dropping this one Monday night. I'll probably drop the one with Paul right after, so I may do a double episode tonight. We're going to start dropping clips, and we're just going to go for it, baby. I'm super excited. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Let me know what type of comments you want to see. If you want to reach out about the show, if you're an entrepreneur and you've got a good story that you want to get on the air, so you can email me at firedmyselfshow@gmail.com. Send me an email, and we can like see if you'd be a good fit for the show. And yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna grow and crush together. I'm very excited about this. And like I said, I'm on my entrepreneur journey just like the rest of you. And if you're sitting there, if you're in the 9-to-5 still and you don't even know where to begin, that's okay. That's all right. I would like to point you towards the school community. Again, the link's in the episode description. I have module 1 right now posted. Hopefully by the time this episode comes out, I'll have all 3 modules posted. But there's going to be a free 3 module, probably about 3-hour course on entrepreneurial mindset, specifically for the person that is still stuck in the 9-to-5 and looking for anything they can get their hands on to help them break free of that. I feel like it's a very, very useful little course for you. So go check that out. Go become a free member to the school community. And yeah, I think that's it. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.